Definitely, definitely. And so I do have to, a little selfish of me here, I have to admit. You've mentioned LA and Mexico City, and these are great taco places, and I'm not disputing that. I'm just wondering why San Antonio isn't on that list.
You know what? Oh my gosh, you're not the first.
Hi, I'm Kyle Werkerly, certified professional ghostwriter. I'm glad you're listening as I welcome industry experts to share stories. You'll hear of lessons learned the hard way, overcoming professional hurdles, turning experience into actionable knowledge, and how to connect with your target audience. This is the Career Challenges Podcast. So welcome back to the Career Challenges Podcast, and I'm welcoming back again Scott Porter. And again, he's an entrepreneur, executive advisor, brand experience strategist, and speaker, and taco whisperer. And this is going to be part 2 of our conversation here, because Scott, that first time we were talking, it was just like I was really enjoying what you were saying. I was really getting a lot out of it. So I'm like, I've got to get Scott back on here and keep this conversation going, because there's those times where you're talking with somebody and it's like, I'm really digging the vibe here. I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop. So Scott, welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me back.
So we were talking on the last episode about, your approach to brand strategy, and really it's about, the person, that we can make the world a better place, and that we're all just people at the end of the day. And it doesn't matter what your background is, or, who you are, what you believe, you're a human being, and we need to treat human beings as human beings. So, I mean, it really, really, deep and introspective stuff as well. So kind of picking up where we left off there, when you approach brand strategy and, I guess specific actions that they can take to kind of, have that personalized, where it's really about the human being in that transaction.
Absolutely. I think, like, for me, one of the things that it starts with is just taking a look at, I mean, first and foremost, you need to have some sort of mission that resonates with your team, from just that makes everyone wants to be part of something that's bigger than themselves, and they want to be able to be like dedicated and like they truly do. And once they buy into a mission, then they're on board. And so I think that is probably like the first and foremost thing, is just to take a really hard look at, and it doesn't need to be, you don't need to like beat a dead horse or belabor things here. It's just like, let's take a look, and just from a very, quick perspective, does our mission resonate? Is this what we're trying to accomplish ultimately with what we do, whether it's a service, a product, whatever it is we do? So that's the first thing. The second thing I would do and would say is to take a look at all of your touch points and all the opportunities that there are to connect in a human level with your customers. Now, I just recently purchased a home, and so I've been doing a ton of like just all of the the cleanup and the like, it's just insane. I had no idea what was involved, but like air ducts to piping to everything else, and it's amazing how many people. It's amazing to me how many people don't even you're just a number, you're a transaction. You're you're almost like, I get the feeling sometimes when calling some of these vendors, is that I'm bothering them because I'm making them work. And I'm like, wait a second here. Like, you know how hard it is to get someone to come to you and potentially give you their money for what you offer? Like, you should be treating, and I believe this is true for any business, you should be treating anyone that comes to your door, that looks at your product, that does any outreach, phone, email, chat, whatever. comes to you, that is gold. You should treat them like gold. They are coming to you because potentially they want to give you their money, their effort. They want to involve you in their lives. And so treat them and that opportunity like gold. So I just had an eye appointment, and my doctor, I'll just give you an example. This is like a prime example. And I think like sometimes people can, business leaders and all of us can feel like this is daunting. Like, how in the world do I strategize adding human element to my business? And I don't, and I mean, sure, there's a way that to step back and let's create a holistic strategy and like architect each one of these areas of touch points so that we make sure that we're positively and personally and memorably and meaningfully connecting with people. But that may seem like, oh gosh, that's so much to bite off right now. And so my advice always is to just do one more thing. Just do one thing right now. One simple thing. For example, I just received 2 sample pairs of contacts from my doctor in the mail.
Wow.
Super nice, right? Like, this was after my appointment because I have this like crazy eye prescription and so they have to special order my contacts. So they didn't have them in their office, and so they sent them to me in the mail. They wrote really nicely, trial number 2, trial number 3, gave me a contact case, and it was in an envelope. And I open it up and I'm like, oh, that's nice. I also feel like, and I'm probably going to post about this maybe tomorrow or the next day, like, big missed opportunity to connect with me. Like, how much longer would it have taken them to write on a postcard or on even a Post-it? I don't even care what it was written on. Like, Scott, I hope these contacts work for you and you're able to see better. Give us a call if we can help, Sam or Dr. Jones or whoever.
Yeah.
And like 15 seconds to write a personal note that shows me. Additionally, I already know that the doctor cares because I was with that doctor in person, but this is just one example of taking a look at every single touch point that your customer has with your business and maximizing that to reinforce that you care about them, to reinforce that you think that they're a human and that you are valuable to them, not just as someone that's going to pay them money, but that you care about them. That's what we want. We're demanding that as customers more and more. We want more personalization. We want people to look us in the eye. We want people to know our names. We want like our favorite website to be able to give us personalized recommendations because they know us. Sometimes it's a little bit creepy, but we want people to have this. We want the conversation that we have with a business to be one continual thread.
Yeah.
That it's not broken. And so I just use that as an example. That's one thing. So if you're a business, like if you're this eye doctor and you're thinking, well, we're going to be sending out packages, let's make sure and add a personal note. Just put it on a Post-it. I don't even care. Put it on a scrap piece of paper. It doesn't matter. But like, write a note. Hey, hope these contacts work for you. Give us a call, Sam.
Yeah.
I mean, I can give so many other examples. I can give an example from anyway, but I can go on. But
yeah. Well, another thing I wanted to bring up too, you mentioned, just do one more thing. Something that surprised me, just in my ghostwriting, I was talking with a PR specialist in London, and she was asking, what do you do? And I wasn't trying to sell her on anything, but I kind of launched into my normal spiel that I tell people, this is what it take, or this is what the process looks like to work with me. And I have 5 phases, and I explain what each phase is for, kind of the rough timeline you're looking at, all that. And I know it sounds bad when I say it's a script. I've memorized what to say, and I personalize it each time. But I have to have that in my mind, so that way when somebody asks me, I'm not just kind of, well, duh. It's
right.
really for me so that I can keep it smooth and clear for the people I'm talking with. And when I was done, she goes, that's the first time I've talked with a ghostwriter who is transparent about what they do and how they do it. And
Mm.
that kind of knocked me back. I'm like, they don't tell you how they go about the process of actually writing the book for you. Because, as a ghostwriter, it's a very personal thing that we're doing here. And it
Sure.
just surprised me that, that's not the normal business
Right.
in this service. And
Right.
so
Right.
my question to you then, Scott, is transparency important as well in those touch points?
Oh, 100%. I mean that, like, for example, I referenced this in the last time we talked, but we got I remember this one time we got a 1-star Yelp review. I mean, that's like
Mm,
death, right? Like, no one wants
yeah.
that. It's just the worst. And so we got it. I got the notification on my phone. Like, ah! I instantly, I mean, he was in the right. Like, we totally messed up. And he's like, you weren't on time. When I finally got the churros, they were cold, they were hard, they were blah blah blah. Went on and on about. We
Yeah.
went, we did a special trip from like half an hour away to come and get them, and then so disappointed, terrible. I'm like, ugh. And so I wrote him back and was just like, yes, absolutely, that's horrible. I'm so sorry. Which oftentimes, I mean, oftentimes, at least me as a consumer, that's all I want to hear. I want people to say, yeah, our policy's really dumb. I'm so sorry that our policy's dumb. I'm sorry. If I put myself in your shoes, I'd be so mad too. Like, we just want empathy,
Yeah.
like, just tell us that you care, or that you like understand why this is so lame. And
Mhm.
so that's what I did. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's the worst ever. I'm so sorry. We should have been there on time. The churros should have been better. They should have been warmer. I'm sorry you went to all that effort. What can I do to make it right? How can I change this? I'll bring you churros right now. I'll bring you fresh churros right now. Where are you?
Mhm.
And he's wrote back and he's like, oh, well, thanks for writing back. Yeah, it was very disappointing. You don't need to worry about bringing us new churros. And I'm like, I wrote back and I'm like, no, I'm serious. I will bring you churros right now. Where are you located? And so he eventually told me. We exchanged phone numbers. It was 45 minutes from where I was at the time. I made him fresh churros, and I told him, I say, hey, they're probably not gonna be as super hot, but I'm gonna like get there as fast as I can. So I got there, took him to his home. They invited me in. We ended up having this long conversation. He was also a food entrepreneur, and he knows, and he's like, and I'm like, dude, you are so right. Like, it was a terrible experience. We messed up. And it was, and so to your point about transparency, yes, we have to be transparent, and as much as we can. I mean, I know that there's like oftentimes some legalities and sensitivities to private information and things
Yeah.
like that obviously you can't totally be 100% transparent in every instance, but as transparent as you can, and as take, fall on your sword,
Mhm.
you know like, you messed up, recognize that you messed up. And so anyway, we had this great conversation. As I'm pulling out, I say goodbye. They were super happy with the churros. I said goodbye and started to leave. And as I'm leaving, like 5 minutes down the road, a ding notification on my phone. He had changed his Yelp review from a 1-star to a 5-star.
Wow.
And so, I mean, yeah, that's so great. That doesn't happen all the time, though, Kyle. like,
Yeah.
like I respond similarly to other 1-star reviews, and sometimes they don't respond back, and I don't get the chance to have that sort of service recovery and be able to have that personal experience with them. But I try, and I think that's people are forgiving, I think we just need to, like, that's the element that you're talking about, of just like being transparent and recognize and care. I mean, that's really the bottom line. Just be transparent, care, and be kind.
Mhm.
And it's just like, even when people aren't kind to you.
Mhm. Definitely. So,
Yeah.
I we'd mentioned in the opening, your intro, you're a taco whisperer, and also you have a executive taco tour mastermind coming up. So I'm curious, how are you taking the taco and turning it into this this executive tour kind of experience? I'm just curious about that.
Well, so I am like so obsessed with tacos. I have been ever since I was a missionary in Mexico, and I've been on this like lifelong search for the perfect taco. I mean, I have a taco Instagram account called Search for the Perfect Taco, and I've led taco tours to Mexico City, taken hundreds of people to Mexico City. It was one of my favorite things to do. And I've done that for like over 20 years. It's so crazy.
Wow.
And it's just a passion of mine. Like, I sometimes wonder if there's a taco out there dreaming of me too. Like, I'm so crazy obsessed. Like, every day's Taco Tuesday sort of mentality, you know?
Yeah.
So, and as I've, I've just noticed, like, over the years in the different business trainings that I've given, I always come back to like the simple, crystal clear, like, examples that happen about humanizing. I mean, it's all about the taco, but it's actually, there's even more. It's about human connection. Yeah. And it goes back to what I was talking about in Mexican culture. It's that warmth and the human connection. And there's no better place that that's on wild display in a sort of like simplified masterclass experience of, you go and get a taco on the street, and it's like you're just soaking it in, this like rich human connection experience. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. So I already have with the example of Roberto with the egg and all of that, but so one of my I wish I could show you this video. That just happened in Mexico with this family. We were talking back and forth as I'm talking. We're eating this incredibly delicious boar tacos. They were javelin, or is that how you say it?
Javelina? Yeah,
javelina tacos. And they were just like juicy, incredible. Like, they've been cooking on the spit all day, and I was in heaven. And I just started talking with the family. They genuinely cared about me, and like were passing me a napkin. And then ultimately, this man that I didn't even know, I started talking to him 30 seconds before this, and he's like, hey, these are ribs. Do you want one? Off his plate.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, yes, I want one. And so I ate it right off of his plate. I mean, wow. That's what you do. So another quick example, in East LA, one of my favorite places, El Pecas. It's like right where the 50 and the 5 and the I'm sorry, the 5 and the 60 and the 10 all meet, those freeways. And there's like this car wash and the food trucks outside there, police sirens going. It's like amazing. Home sweet home. It's great. And so I hadn't been there in like 6 months. I love their al pastor tacos. I hadn't been there, which is in and of itself a terrible tragedy. But I walk up to the window, and Ernesto greets me. He says, "Scott, where you been for the past 6 months? Like, do you want your al pastor tacos the way you always like them? Extra crispy meat with extra pineapple?" And I'm like, well, yes, of course. Of course that's how I want them. But like, how in the world do you remember this?
Wow.
And there's so much to unpack from this micro interaction. It's like, he called me by name. He remembered what I ordered. He cared enough to offer me, like, it's extra work for his team to leave it on the grill longer and get that extra pineapple out and provide that to me. But he wanted me to get the best experience. And not only that, he's not the owner. You could probably expect that from the owner, but they are in the second largest city in America. He's probably served thousands and thousands of people in between me and the last time that I was there. And yet he remembered, and he cared enough to offer all of that to me. And his boss cared enough to hire people that had that same perspective of connecting. And so I've just found over the years that there's this simplified, like amazing grand equalizer of the taco experience. Like you have a janitor right next to a billionaire, like sidling up to this food truck, pass me the limes, and you're like sucking your fingers, and it's just like, I mean, it's this very visceral experience where that equalizes everyone, and where the taco is like the experience that you have. They're like looking in the eye, they're asking you how they remember what you ordered, they remember your name, they genuinely care and ask you, did you like the food? And they may even offer their ribs off their own plate for you,
Wow.
like this is, and this, so that's why I've this taco experience is the perfect narrative to highlight simple things that have a dramatic impact on customer loyalty, dramatic impact on. And so we've talked a lot about like all of the altruistic benefits of doing all of these things. Like you feel good, you feel fulfilled, you feel everyone else does as well. But the great news, Kyle, is too that like there's dramatic business results that you can expect, like studies that have been done by HBR and McKinsey and all these other research and consultancies that, a positive customer experience, when a customer has a positive customer experience, they will spend 140% more.
Wow.
Revenues go up 20%, costs go down 15%, loyalty skyrockets 500%, happiness skyrockets 10x. Like all of these, I mean, so like any business person, you plug your numbers in there, like, do you not want this to be a part of your business? Like, so is there an urgency? Absolutely, because this is a missed opportunity for you to not only have an impact in people's lives in positive ways, but your business will thrive in ways it never has before.
Definitely. And so I do have to, a little selfish of me here, I have to admit, you've mentioned LA and Mexico City, and these are great taco places, and I'm not disputing that. I'm just wondering why San Antonio isn't on that list.
You know what? Oh my gosh, you're not the first Texan that has brought that
Well,
up.
I do want to point out that there's a popular bumper sticker here. It's like, where are the best tacos in Austin? And the answer is go down the road to San Antonio. I was like, that's saying something. That's saying something.
Oh my gosh. So I will tell you, so I've I've eaten a lot of tacos over my
I'm
life.
not disputing that.
But it's been confined mostly to the geographies where I've spent the most time. And so my strongest suit is in LA in Southern California, and then in Mexico City, and now I've been living in Utah for a handful of years, and so I mean there's more limited places here in Utah.
I have noticed that kind of anywhere north of anywhere north, kind of like Oklahoma and Colorado, there's still some good tacos there, but basically north of that line, your quality of tacos really takes a nosedive, and I think that's so sad. Like
trust me. I mean, there's but there are some respectable and very good tacos here in Utah. Like I have some there's some great food here too. So to answer your question, I just haven't spent much time in Texas. And it's not because I haven't wanted to. Like everyone that I have a number of friends and colleagues that live in Texas, they're like, dude, you got to get out here and try the whole taco scene here. And I know it's like thriving and awesome, and I need to get down there. So that's the bottom line. I was just talking about getting there and doing like kind of the San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, kind of circuit there. But yeah, so I'll get there. Let's go. We should meet up for tacos when I make it to San Antonio for sure.
Definitely, yeah. Give me a call. I will be there.
You'll be down. I'll need your recommendations too.
Oh yeah, I'm scouting them. Don't worry. I'm eating plenty of tacos here to come up with good recommendations.
Good.
So the Executive Taco Tour Mastermind. Can you tell me a little bit about that? That's coming up in April, right?
Right. And so I'm taking a really small group of 5 to 6 CEOs to like have this completely immersive and experiential, transformational weekend in Mexico City. A lot of it is because there's so much that you learn from getting out of your context,
Hmm.
getting out of what's familiar to you, and seeing the world with fresh eyes. And so this is going to be unlike a taco tour that I've done in the past, and we're going to experience things that are going to be one of a kind. Like I've never even done them before. We're going to be doing everything from like eating. Of course, we're eating our way through the city. That goes without saying. So everything from the best street to the best gourmet and everything in between. And just like immersing ourselves in the city and letting the city transform our thoughts and our strategies about how to incorporate a more human connection as a strategic competitive advantage for our businesses. And so learning by example, peer-to-peer, discussions and help as we like climb the third largest pyramid in the world and eat in an Aztec cave restaurant and have a Wim Hof like polar plunge and then do a ancient Aztec steam bath ritual with a shaman. And then we're going to go to a lucha libre fight and we're going to get behind the scenes at some of these culinary masterpiece, like with some of these best chefs in Mexico, and learn how to make salsa and tortillas and of course like experience all the cathedrals and the colonial architecture and the parks and history, the rich history of Mexico. So it's just going to be, and there's some surprises too that I haven't mentioned that are just going to like blow people away. So the idea here is to really like have an immersive experience that could really transform what strategies we do and how we change and improve and to really tackle this challenge of creating a brand that is more human and more relationship and experience focused, because those are the brands that are going to win going forward, are the ones that do that.
Definitely.
So it's going to be amazing. You got to come. Yeah, it's April 15th through the 19th. And we'll be staying just right off of the Zócalo, the main plaza there. The plaza that there's one of the latest James Bond movies at the opening scene, Day of the Dead.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like the helicopter crashes in the middle of the plaza.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plaza that we're staying just right on, and we'll overlook that where we're staying. So it's going to be amazing. So.
Would you like to be a guest on the Career Challenges podcast? Go to careerchallengespodcast.com to find out how. While you're there, check out other episodes and download them through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. The Career Challenges podcast is hosted by me, Kyle Weckerly. I'm a certified professional ghostwriter who works with business thought leaders and industry experts to write polished manuscripts, assess their publishing options, and create book marketing plans. I've worked with consultants, high-ticket salespeople, coaches, speakers, C-level executives, and business owners. My authors have worked for USAA, Vistage, Booz Allen Hamilton, Austin Technology Council, and the John Maxwell team. My authors want to write a book to serve as a platform for their marketing endeavors. They know that becoming an author will help them secure speaking gigs, market their expertise, promote a product or service, and more. Are you ready to turn your experience, knowledge, and stories into actionable advice and connect with your ideal client? Then visit WeckerlyWriter.com to schedule a consultation today and begin your publishing journey. That's WeckerlyWriter.com. WeckerlyWriter.com. And now, back to the Career Challenges podcast. How will this dovetail into your book, Search for the Perfect Taco? Are you just taking all these lessons and putting it into one book that people can, pardon the pun, digest more easily and at their leisure?
Yeah. And so, it's all about the search for the perfect taco, and really it's learning the secrets and how to incorporate this kind of breakthrough brand experience to help you thrive while we're on the search for the perfect taco. Like, let's just, I mean, we're going to learn this. If we want to learn this, like, let's learn it while we're stuffing our faces with the best food on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and let ourselves be, uh, experience what this kind of personalized human connection through the taco experience. And so the book that's what it's all about. There's kind of, it'll be like case studies and it's not going to be it's going to be a different book than what normal business development and kind of a cross between a foodie book, a travel book, and a personal and business development book. So lots of like full color, bleed to edge pictures of these like mouth-wateringly amazing tacos.
Making me hungry.
And like with all the experiences that we've learned and why they've been successful, or what happened to us when we were there eating them. And there's a common, I have like kind of 4 elements of what make a breakthrough brand experience, and elements that are easy for people to determine and to assess anywhere they go. Like I would love it if everyone becomes like these brand and customer experience Jedi Knights everywhere in the world. Like wherever you go, you can do a quick assessment of what type of brand experience are we having, and where are there areas for improvement. And so that the book is just all about that, inspiring people to level up their brand experience and their taco game.
Definitely.
So it's kind of a fun combination to do that. And I plan to do a national taco tour to launch the book. The date of all of that is yet to be determined, but I'm using a lot of some of the case studies from my podcast and video series called Taco Incidents as well. So I'm learning a lot from really brilliant leaders about what they've done to create a breakthrough and a brand experience that is really truly different and special. And it's just been such an education, and I've just loved learning their insights and loved sharing them too.
Definitely. So what was the process like of writing the book? I mean, was this your first book that you wrote?
Well, speaking of transparency, so the book is all planned out. The content is like, it's now in the process of I'm getting it all woven together. So it's still a process that's early on. I'm stitching all the stories together that are out there and that I have written. And now it's just it's all kind of planned in a big, I've whiteboarded like where everything's going in kind of the order that it's going. Now it's just a matter of stitching it together in a narrative that flows. I mean, you know way more about that than I do. And so this is my first rodeo here. So I'm kind of learning as I go, and would love some advice and insight, but
Definitely.
So it's still very early on in the process. So yeah.
Cool. So we're kind of ironic too. I was just talking with Nelson Toriano, who's a guest for the previous episode, and he wrote a book, and it was his first book as well. And he talked about going through the editing process with an editor, and how she was just kind of cutting and saying you got to take this out, you got to say this better. Have you been having experiences like that where you thought, well, I said this really well, or this is a really great part, but when it comes down to it, what's best for the book is to take it out? Have you been having experiences like that?
Not quite yet. I haven't got down that path of having an editor, but I've had plenty of people as I've shared the stories in either speaking engagements or over some of the podcasts and different things where it's been shaved out, and or they say, you know what, doesn't resonate as well as this other story, where that story really lands,
Mm-hmm.
or this comment or the way that you this really resonates. But this other stuff that you've been saying, like, you just don't worry about saying that. And you're like, okay, all right, that's fine. You just learn as you go, and take advice from people that you trust,
Definitely, definitely. And so you say you're getting a lot of your material from your podcast, Taco Incidents. How has that experience been, talking with these brilliant minds and getting to sit down and go through brand strategy with people? Was the original thought to get stories out of that experience, or was it really more of a learning and dialogue, kind of like what this podcast is?
Hmm. It was, as you know, because you've been doing this longer than I have, you learn so much from your guests, and you just like, I just found that I'm this sponge, and taking in all of these brilliant ideas, and seeing and talking about failures, and talking about things that they've done really well and that have been really successful, and having that. There's something about, also, I think there's just something about having a conversation over food that you just, that you have, you get real really quickly for some reason, and especially food where you're eating with your hands instead of weapons.
Yes.
So, and so I think that's it's been such an education, and I've and like multiple sides to the reasons why I wanted to do Taco Incidents. One of them is I wanted to help start. I wanted to help to have people start to make the connection between tacos and transformative principles for their business and life. I mean, because it's a bit of a non sequitur, right? You're like,
Yeah.
wait, I'm going to learn something transformative from a taco stand in Mexico City. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. You're going to learn something that can completely reframe things for you, from simple examples. And really, like, the best things out there are some of the most simple things that really change who we are and how we do business, how we run our lives. And so it's one of the reasons was to introduce this concept of, like, yeah, tacos are an interesting narrative to, like, learn something that could transform me, So part of that was to introduce that narrative. The other was to really highlight some of the amazing successes and failures, and some of the and insights that these business leaders have. Some of them people may know, some of them people may not know, and businesses that have 500,000 customers, and businesses that are have a spin cycling studio, and that have hundreds of customers. And so it's there's value in all of those types of experiences, and the types of businesses. And so I was just wanting to, like, highlight the successes that they've had, give them a voice to share some of their brilliant insights, and then also be able to capture some of these phenomenal stories of success that I'm looking to include in my book, and that I share when I speak and train, because there's such a diverse, broad and diverse group of businesses, everything from, like, Stance Socks to a nonprofit that's fighting pornography to, like, all sorts of crazy things in between,
Mm-hmm.
that we can all learn from as business leaders and as humans, really, about how they've done it, how they've created this human connection in their brands, and what the impact has been for them. So that's, I mean, it's really highlighting them. They're the heroes here. I don't have all the answers, and together we can figure out how to implement some of the best ideas and techniques in any sort of business, whether it's a multi-million-dollar software company or a churro business, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I always want to ask, fellow podcast hosts, just that process of getting a guest, and I don't know, do you do a lot of vetting for your guests to make sure that they're kind of a good fit for the show?
Yeah, actually, they're really hand selected. I want to make sure that the people that I'm talking to are really like those that are their customers would listen to their podcast and what they have to say and be like, yeah, that's exactly right. That I've had that experience, or oh, I understand. I understand more depth, more background, more vision or heart to exactly what I get on the receiving end of, this pest control company or an electric bike that I just bought, or whatever it is, And so I think that yeah, it's been so so enlightening for me to do that research and to figure out, like, yeah, I would love to have this particular business leader come on and tell about the experience that they've created and why they've done it. Because I think a lot of times as business leaders, it's easy for us to get lost in the craziness of running a business, and not step back and have the discipline to be intentional and mindful about how we're going about it. And these leaders have done that. And so I want to hold them up as these exemplars of, this is what you can do, and this is the impact that it's had in their situation.
Definitely. So I do want to ask, and you don't have to be specific here. You can kind of be vague, but like, has there been a guest where it was like, okay, this is not a good fit, and what was the guest, I guess, kind of pitching, and why was it not a good fit for Taco Incidents?
I guess it was not a good fit. You know what? So far, the ones that I have interviewed, I've filmed 21 video episodes that are also then have become podcast episodes, and there is something. I don't think that there's anyone yet that I've had that is not a good fit. Where I've said, oh gosh, I have no idea how we're going to broadcast this or put this out there, because this doesn't have anything to do with Taco Incidents. What I thought would, like someone that you wouldn't think necessarily would. So I think it was the third episode, from this first season, I spoke with the Iron Cowboy. Are you familiar with Jim Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy?
Jim Lawrence. I don't think I've heard of him, no.
So he is like superhuman. It's incredible. He ran 50 or did 50 Ironman triathlons in 50 states in 50 days.
What?
I know. You don't think it's humanly possible. You don't even think that it would be humanly possible to do 50 in a year, right?
Yeah, in a year.
He did them in 50 days in 50 states. I mean, there's a documentary about him, everything else. He's this anomaly of superhuman powers, you would think. Mm-hmm. And there's this one point when I'm looking at him, and it's just kind of like I'm in total disbelief that he's actually human. Mm-hmm. Because he's explaining to me the process of going through this, and then he's just like, you know what, this is the whole point about what I'm talking about, is that he is just redefining the impossible. Mm-hmm. So whatever you think is possible, he's like, I'm just a normal dude just like you. So, and I'm like, well, I really don't think so, but he insists that he's normal just like everyone else.
Yeah.
he just he's redefined his impossible. And so, and he's like, I don't care what you tell me you don't think you can do. I don't believe you. You can do it, because look at what I just did, and I'm a normal person. So if I can do what I did, you can do anything. And so this idea of, and there's so much, I mean, he has so many nuggets of like inspirational wisdom, and his is very like personal motivation stuff. But I gained so much from his interview, and from the perspective of this is like we, like from a business perspective, we can accomplish anything that we set our minds to. There are difficulties and there are challenges. There are challenges that can be overcome. And if it's something that is not in the cards, like we can move on and pivot and do something different. But like things, we can do the impossible. And even if that impossible seems like, how do we connect with people in meaningful ways with a software company? Like, what does that look like? Well, let's talk through this and figure out the strategy. So I think that like even with someone that is this world-class athlete, and he's obviously running his own business and is now on this like thought leadership speaker circuit and things, motivating people to live their best lives. It's still very relevant information and powerful in the perspective of like, yeah, we can do the impossible. We can do stuff that may seem hard and difficult for us to incorporate. So I really wouldn't, I think that there's value in it. I haven't had a conversation that I feel has been a misfit so far.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I ask is because other podcast guests I've talked to, they all say, "Oh yeah, there's people I've had to turn away." Just the example I always use is one guy just wanted to use the show to pitch a product. This great thing that you pay us, we'll get you great leads, and that was all he wanted to talk about. And I was like, no, I don't want to talk about that at all. Whereas here we're having this dialogue about brand strategy. We're getting really deep in it, and also you're doing a taco mastermind, and you're writing a book, and it's like, that's what I want it to be like. Is we're really talking human to human here, and not just what do you have next for us, Johnny?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you don't have a firm date for the book yet?
The goal is next year. So
Next year.
That's that's the goal.
Yeah. And then you have the Taco Mastermind coming up in April 15th through the 19th in Mexico City.
And that too is that I'm going to continue to do that. That's going to be the first one, and then I'll continue to do multiple of those a year, based on the need. But I do want to keep it to a small group, just because I feel like the quality of interaction and communication is better. Like when you're
definitely
just at a small dinner table,
Yeah. And then you have you said season 2 Taco Incidents is coming out.
Yeah, and that's we're looking to launch that in March. So just shortly there.
Yeah, and this episode should land in March sometime as well.
Oh,
so
great.
Hopefully it lines up just right for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what else is going on, or what else is on the horizon for you, Scott?
Oh wow. There's just a lot of fun plans with family and friends over the year, but the business on the personal side, on the business side, the San Diablo is growing. We're looking to expand. I'm heading to Mexico City this weekend to explore perhaps expanding to Mexico with our churro business. and taking a little deep fried happiness back down there where we were, the birthplace of it all, where we were inspired, where I was inspired to start it. I think there's a lot of growth and amazing opportunities coming with speaking engagements and on the churro side with different opportunities to continue to grow and expand. Where everything from offering gluten-free vegan churros to keto churros to packaging them and productizing, as well as expanding to other areas of the United States. So just looking at, we're in the process of growing and looking for investment as well, and I believe that San Diablo will be a global brand at some point, and so we were just in the process of trying to put together the resources to make that happen. So that's going on. I'm feeling like laser focused and crazy optimistic, and feel a lot of really wonderful positive energy coming into 2020, and feeling like this is really going to be a banner year for where a lot of like groundwork has been laid for some significant growth. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited about this coming year.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that you've had me and that you've asked about it, and you've had me share some of these thoughts as well. So.
I mean, I'm excited too. It sounds like there's amazing things that are happening and going to happen, which is always great, always great. So if people are listening to this and they really want to connect with you, Scott, where can they find you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the best places is on LinkedIn. I'm just Scott Craig Porter on LinkedIn. And then on my website, searchfortheperfecttaco.com. And then on the website, they'll have all the links to the social media where I post about tacos and about brand experience. And on the website too, that's where you can find like the links to the video series and podcast as well as interactive taco finder map. You can like zoom in and see all the places where I've eaten tacos and what I've said about them and how I've rated them. So
wow.
With all the information about, if you want to go there, you just click on there and then you get the map and link and all that stuff. So
definitely, I will be looking into that, and there should be some.
I need to add more Texan.
Yeah. So soon there'll be dots for San Antonio, and people can come and enjoy the tacos that you've gotten to enjoy. Scott Porter, thank you so much for being on the Career Challenges podcast with me again.
Oh, thank you for having me again. And it's such a pleasure to talk with you. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for listening to the Career Challenges podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Career Challenges podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Visit careerchallengespodcast.com for more information. Schedule your free consultation with Kyle Weckerly by visiting weckerlywriter.com today. That's WECKERLYWRITER.com. Thank you.